This is Jerry Rowe, staff columnist with the News and Record, and I'm with the Reverend Nelson Johnson, talking to him about this discussion paper that he and a group of residents from the beloved community center and beyond have written about problems with the Greensboro Police Department. Reverend Johnson, thank you for meeting with me today. Tell me how all this started, sir. This discussion with problems in the police department.
Well, first of all, let me say that it is not a new problem, and when you say how it got started, I think I would phrase that as how has the recent incarnation of it evolved. And I say that because it has historic roots, and that's important to appreciate. When Robert White left, a new chief came on, David Ray, and he apparently set in motion some policies and procedures that were offensive and not received by a number of officers, and they saw them as prejudice. Of course, the listening device, not the listening device, but the tracking device put on one officer's car, and then the black book, all accumulated. And some of these officers were in one of our local churches, in several of them. And they asked Reverend Brown if he would pull together some pastors to hear their concern. This must have been late 2007, 2008, somewhere in there. And officers came, and a number of pastors came. And people talked. It was a free-flowing conversation. It wasn't facilitated as such, just what is it that you want to say. And I counted 43 police officers. There may have been more, but I counted that many. And I was amazed at the depth of people's dissatisfaction, their view that they were being mistreated, that laws or policy were being regularly violated, and they asked for our help. That is the point at which I became involved in this part. I met some of the officers, and I've been working with some of them ever since. But I must say that at the same time, I was continuing the work with citizens who would come here and raise concerns and complaints, and I began to see the connection between the two. And because we were not able to go forward in the way that I wanted to go forward, and our organization had planned to go forward with the economic emphasis, and that's too much to go into, we decided that maybe it was time to focus more fully on helping Greensboro solve the problem of our police culture, or solve its problem of police culture. And in this sense, we were not so much thinking about bringing in a new chief or bringing in a new city manager, but there was something greater and deeper than that. And that had to do with a set of values, a culture, a way of doing things that been there for a long time. And so I became involved in that, and that in some sense resulted in this book that was released on the 21st of January, the celebration day of Dr. King's.
Now, you've been working on this, Reverend Johnson, for 18 months, 700 copies, cost about $3,000 to print. The question: do you believe this could help solve these deep-rooted problems that have been going on for decades? The problems that you and others see.
I'm convinced that it can be a help in that. I think the problems get solved when a major portion of the citizenry gets genuinely involved. What is the relationship between this document and that? I think that people may not see the depth of the problem and think of it as just one or two bad officers here and there, and they are fired and we're okay. We have attempted to make the argument that this is about a culture. It certainly involves individuals, but individuals come and go. City managers come and go. Police chiefs come and go. Mayors come and go. But the problem actually stays there because it is embedded in that culture. That's different from just bringing in a city manager. We thought that people needed to see that, and we believe this document is a contribution to seeing that, and therefore we think it is a help to people getting involved.
Now you look at getting help, people involved. You've had 15 conversations around the city, you and your wife Joyce, and others since y'all released it January 21st. What have you heard from folks you feel comfortable telling?
Well, let me say first of all that I've enjoyed the opportunity to sit with some sense of confidentiality. So what I'm able to say is somewhat limited, but I can say this, is that I was surprised that certain people had a sense of the depth of the problem and said that this simply confirmed what they already knew and went back decades to talk about what they had experienced. I was surprised. Some people who are pretty successful and, they are doing all right. They're out in the public light. But when they are given the opportunity to talk at some depth, and especially having read this, they actually said they thought it was necessary. Some have taken it to their groups and made an argument for it. Some have agreed to serve in whatever official capacity emerges out of how we would structure having these kinds of conversations all over the city. And I've been very pleased with that. We haven't got, in all but one of these meetings, any pushback on the document itself. People thought it was well done. A meeting that I was in where the document was seen as racist because it didn't really show whites in a positive light. I actually disagree with that presentation. I thought when we said that we believe that there are many, many officers doing a good job and a difficult job every day, included in that are the white officers, and we're clear on that. So, and on the other hand, some of the officers that we pointed out who we believe have violated a certain ethics and policies and maybe even the law are officers of color, including one of the former chiefs. So I think the person just didn't study it well, but all of that's to say that I've been impressed with the feedback that we've gotten and the willingness of people to make a commitment to get in an ongoing process.
Now, you've always been a lightning rod for controversy in this city. And some folks will say, oh, this is just being ginned up by Nelson Johnson. Here he goes again. Two questions. What's your reaction to that? And also, are you worried that that could mess up the message here, what you're trying to deliver? This whole idea of ego, this whole idea of who is talking about it.
Well, I have heard that. And people like you share it with me. Very few people tell me that personally. A few people do. I see controversy as not inherently bad. That's the first thing. That I think it is a necessary element of a process, because if everybody is placid and in agreement while people are drowning in the pond, we need a little controversy. We need to help people see that all is not well, even though it might be well in your house. if you don't want to see it and say that that's not true, then we have to work through that. People call that controversial. They call it difference. But I'm not that disturbed by that. I am troubled by the possibility that will block people from seeing the real problem. And that's why we chose to sit down with people in small groups. I didn't have much confidence in the global media, local media, conveying the depth of truth that we've tried to capture in this document. And I really think that a process that we construct can be complemented by the media. But I think it has to be rooted in a kind of knee-to-knee process where small groups, clubs, churches, all get committed to having a discussion within whatever realm that they are in, unfiltered, through some sources that kind of cloud the issue. And I think that we will be then building a democratic tradition that will help every other element within the city.
When you mention this tradition, you're starting at really this discussion's on April 4th. And there's going to be a discussion at the Greensboro Historical Museum. What are you hoping to get out of that, and where are you hoping that will go?
Well, first of all, I want to say that it is a start of a public process of democratic engagement. And we want it to go broader and deeper, more discussion by more people about what is it that we're engaged in and how do we solve it. Now, I think that on Thursday of next week, the 4th of April, I would like an outcome for that is for the people to come to be able to see and believe that there is a real problem here. It's not one or two rebel rousers. It's not a lightning rod, There is lightning and thunder and rain and everything going on here. That 45 cases brought by police officers is an indication of not only a problem, but something of a crack in the process, a break with tradition. It's an unusual opportunity, and I want people to see that. It's then that I want us to set another meeting and to figure out what we do in between, because we've got to structure a process that allows every nook and cranny of this city, that allows all the voices to be heard, and then to process that in a way that what emerges is not my truth or your truth, but a community truth. None of it is absolute, but it is strong enough for the community to predicate its actions on. And I think those actions are the things that I've laid out before, but I think beyond that, it really does open the door for us to do new things in new ways, especially the economy, something in education, something in healthcare. This is a difficult problem. We didn't choose the easiest problem in the city. We didn't really choose. It chose us. So we had to engage it. But I think if we make progress on this, we will be concurrently making progress on a number of other fronts if we do it the right way.
Last question. What's at stake here? What's at stake here? You referenced it just a minute ago, but what's at stake here?
Well, I think there are different levels of stakeholders. On the very bottom, there are people who are being mistreated and abused and spending time in jail who don't need to do that. We can correct that. On another level, the city is somewhat hostage to its own history in this area, and therefore its economy is slowly sinking, that businesses are leaving instead of coming, and we can change all of that. So I think in a very real sense, the vibrancy and the health of our city is at stake. And And we have an opportunity. We have a moment. It's given to us as a result of the accumulation of efforts over time through history. But right now, there are cases pending. There is an openness, I think, and I even think there's an openness on the part of the city to let's do a new thing. 10 years from now, we do not need to be having this same discussion. But I can promise you we will be having it unless we deal with it with integrity and a sense of thoroughness. And that's my hope, and that actually is what is at stake.
Can that happen, that integrity, that what you talk about? Do you believe?
I think believing it is part of the force that makes it happen, because non-believers don't create anything new. They are stuck in the ditch of what they're accustomed to. And so therefore our job is to help each other see and to help each other be believers. When I say that, I believe that it's possible, axiomatically in that is that it could not be possible. But I choose not to spend much time messing with it not being possible. I'm thoroughly invested in helping it to happen. And I want to do all that I can to help other people help it to happen. And I think as more people begin to enter into that space, that we are well on our way to making Greensboro a much better city, and dare I say, a great city. It may even become that city that others look to for an example of how to go beyond our problems and live into greater promise and possibilities.
Reverend Johnson, thank you.
Thank you.